see an introductory slide there. I'm just going to cover what Century Tech actually is, how we use it, how we think it enhances and complements our learning, and then just a little bit on how we use it in school and how we see it being used at home. So just to understand where it came from, during lockdown, we were trying to keep everything vibrant and interesting and engaging for the children. So we were using a number of online tools such as Seesaw, Teams, Kahoot for quizzes, and Nearpod. And then towards the end of lockdown, we were asked to trial in one class in year 5 some new technology, which was Century Tech. And by the end of lockdown, in the space of just a few weeks, all of year 6 and all of year 5 were using it regularly. So on moving back to school, we had to try and figure out how we would use this tool within the school day. It was very much designed to be something that the children could be independent with, and that doesn't always fit into the traditional way that we have taught a lesson. So we tried to look at the key benefits we would get. One of the big ones was that children would have an influence over the speed of their learning. If they needed to go back over something that they didn't quite understand in class, this would give them the ability to do that. The children that wanted to push ahead faster than the class would move, the whole curriculum, English, maths, and science for the whole year would be opened right at the beginning of the school year. So if they wanted to pre-learn ahead of the classroom, they would have the ability to do that. Also, the teacher would be able to see anything that they had done in these areas, so that we knew as we started a module that they were ready to have their learning deepened right at the beginning, rather than starting at the beginning as we might with some of the other children in the class. Century also featured an artificial intelligence system. So what this would do is, as the children were answering questions, if they were quick and correct, it would automatically make the questions more challenging. However, if the children took more time to consider their answers and were getting the questions incorrect, it would bring the challenge level down so that it was appropriate and the children could feel they were progressing rather than always getting something wrong or always getting everything correct and it being too easy. It also presented the lessons in short, manageable, easy to understand chunks. These are called nuggets. And at all stages, the teacher is aware of the progress the children are making. We are always able to look at how long the children have thought about questions and make a judgment as to whether they're guessing or whether they are actually working on the problem. Certainly, I found that piece of information extremely useful on coming back to school. So how do we use it? The way that you would see most often at home is in maths homework. In year 5 and 6, all maths homework is set on Century. It's in the assignments tab at the bottom of the screen, and it will always have a clear due date. We will usually say to the children, you have a week to do the work, and the date will often give them more time. And chasing for homework is usually at the teacher's discretion, but we do encourage the children to complete it as quickly as possible, because it will always tie back to the lessons in class. You may also see it used in other areas occasionally, such as science and English, when it's appropriate for homework. In class, we use it to support and deliver teaching. It is only used in selected lessons. As the children watch the small instructional video for the topic and then answer the questions, the teacher will always be monitoring how they answer. In this way, focused support is directed exactly where it's needed to address that topic. This will not always be the children we may expect. So this means where we have a child that would normally show mastery tendencies in a subject, if there is a specific small area they find difficult or challenging, the teacher will know in that lesson and they will be able to provide the help that they need. At the end of the session, the teacher will also be able to see the questions that gave the class as a whole the most problems and address these as a class. All of this means that the help the teacher can provide is directed in the quickest and most efficient way possible. Clearly, we wouldn't want all lessons to be delivered this way. They can be a little dry, so once a week is considered to be more than sufficient. It also helps in our assessment in class. The children have access to a dashboard and they can see how they are doing and have done on any nugget or lesson that they have answered on Century at any time. And their faces light up when they go green, which is more than 70% correct. Also, the teacher is able to see where they have spent a long time answering, but done exceedingly well. And we can make an example of this in class and encourage everybody to show that kind of commitment to their learning. Furthermore, we can see where support is necessary, where children are thinking a long time, but making incorrect decisions or have a misconception. And we are able to provide increased help as required. So how does Century enhance the learning for the children? Well, they can work at their own pace. We will often have a whole lesson devoted to Century, with one nugget being the target for the children to complete. There are other challenges ready if they finish, but they are not under pressure to complete any more than this. Teacher help, as I've said, is focused and specific, and individual issues are easy to identify and address. Gaps are easy to address also. This also goes for when we are marking work. For example, in English, if I were to notice a child has an issue, for example, with building an expanded noun phrase, I can set an individual nugget for that one child to practice that one area. We also use it for pre-learning. For example, if we were to have a lesson on abstract nouns, we know in prior years the children have learned about proper nouns and normal nouns, regular nouns. So we would set a nugget for them to look at before the lesson to refresh their memories about nouns, enabling us to move the lesson more quickly and to dive deeper into the topic. So, school or home? Well, in school, in maths, we try to deliver one lesson a week on Century. If required, in the lesson, we will move from individual to small group work based upon the answers the children are giving in Century. We make misconceptions are addressed quickly and together, and children are able to move themselves on to the next challenge when they go green. So when they have more than 70% correct, they can move themselves on. In English, we use it more to start and end lessons. we tend to use it for teaching specific points of grammar rather than creative writing. And as I said, for some pre-learning. We are also using it to practice formal reading comprehension. Normally, throughout the year, we would use more exciting ways to learn how to infer or summarize or predict about our reading. However, we recognize that at the end of the year, the children have to know how to answer a formal reading comprehension text. Century is excellent for getting used to this format. Again, as the children go green, we move them on, or they are able to move themselves on. In science, we are using it for knowledge checks. When we have taught a unit, we are using it to check that the children have retained the knowledge. In some instances, we will use it for a little pre-learning to accelerate the lessons. It is also used to check the understanding of a scientific methodology, and this is used alongside practical experiments that we perform in class. In terms of assessment, we are using what we call diagnostics at the beginning and end of a module to try and assess the children's progress. We also use it as a method of confirmation of teacher assessment. So the teacher obviously works with the children every day, and we will have a good understanding of the level at which they are working. Century gives us another piece of evidence to confirm our judgments. At home, homework is set by the teachers. It's in the assignments tab. It will always be there on the day that the regular day for maths set by the teacher. The dates it's due in are clear, and the child, most importantly, has the option to do additional work. The entire curriculum is there. If they find something interesting, they should be encouraged to just dive in. They do not need to ask the teacher. When we come to teach that module, we can see that they have been active. We can have a look at their level, and we can make sure that they are pushed on even further to enhance their learning. The AI will ensure that the level is appropriate for the children. And if they do well, the system will check their recall. After 3 or 4 weeks, they will be presented with the same work again to show that they have retained the knowledge. And as I've said, all of this can be monitored by the teacher as we get to teach those particular modules in class. So I hope that's given you a brief understanding of the system and how we're using it. I'd like to open everything up to questions, and I'll do my best to answer.
Thanks, David. I think that was a really useful session. I hope we haven't got many people on the line, but I hope you found that useful. I think it's been a real great tool for us. There's obviously, we need to be careful. We need to reassess each, over time, how often we use it, but and how we use it. But certainly David as our one of our leaders. Hello, whoever that is. David is one of our leaders of using Century Tech and just supporting us and ensuring that children get the maximum out of it. It's been really beneficial. So, do we have any questions?
I have one question.
Oh, great.
When you say that children pass on from one color, from green to another color, is this when you mean the green as in when they get more than 70%, the one that I see in the assignments?
It's not so much in the assignments, in the nugget. If they score more than 70%, yes, they can move themselves onto a different nugget. So if we were teaching fractions, for example, and we were doing addition of fractions with different denominators, if they were in class and they aced it, they did it very quickly, they got 70%, they could move themselves on. I would have already lined up the next piece of work in Century, so they could move themselves on.
Okay, super. All right.
They don't have to wait.
Perfect. Okay. And I saw also that sometimes you use Century also just to, I think recently I saw it, I was a little shocked because the results were very low, but you were checking it for something that they learned while they were in confinement, which I thought was very interesting. So they had to use it. It's like, what did you use last year and how much did you remember and all of this? And so I thought it was actually quite interesting.
Sometimes there will be low scores on their dashboard. Sometimes we expect it. when we carry out the pre-unit diagnostic, we're looking to find out what they already know for this curriculum. So we expect those scores to be low. We haven't taught it yet. And then we would repeat it at the end of a module, and we would hope that they are higher. Generally, they are. But yeah, you will see some low scores on there. And if ever you're concerned, if you get in touch with the class teacher, they'll be able to explain it.
Yes, I actually did, and she was the one who explained it to me. I was like, oh my God, why did he get 9%?
I know some of my children get very worried. And I always say to them, the pre-unit diagnostics, don't worry. If it's not a diagnostic and you do badly one day, we have off days. No one has every day a good day. Yes. And the teacher will know generally their level and their standard, and they'll know that it was a poor performance because they hadn't slept, you know. So we know with testing, we don't expect everything to be perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much to everyone who's attended. Really appreciate it. Obviously, if there are bits and pieces that you would like to see again, please do go to Cognita Connect, and it'll be put in the hub in the next few days, certainly within a week. Okay, so David's going to stop recording and you may leave the call. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye.
Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.